Dereta, dereta, dereta. Stoppa, stoppa, stoppa. Muokere, muokere. Hop, 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 hop. Non muova. Ah, asparagus.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Stephanie. Welcome back to my channel. So in the video today, I'm going to be giving you guys an update on COVID-19 and PA school. For those of you who are new to my channel, welcome. I'm currently a PA student. I am a second year physician assistant student, so I'm currently in my clinical year. So I've been doing my clinical rotations. And just a recap for those of you who haven't seen my first video on COVID-19, I've been out of clinic since March, so mid-March. We had spring break, and then once we came back from spring break, we didn't go back to clinic because of the coronavirus. And I'm currently recording this video on July 11th, so it's been a few months since I've been out of clinic. And I'll be honest with you guys, I really do miss clinic. But meanwhile, what I've been doing is I've been studying a lot. We are still having exams and quizzes and homework and etc. So we still are having our EOR exams. So EORs are end of rotation exams. It's usually required by every PA school. And basically it's an exam that you take towards the end of your rotation. It's usually about 120 questions, and most of us are usually stressing for those exams because they're really hard and compared to your didactic year exams. So these exams are not written by my university, they are actually written by the PA board. So the AAPA, they write those exams, so they're really hard. So during this entire time, I've been studying a lot. It's been really showing on my exams because I've been doing a lot better. I went from usually getting B's to a little bit of high B to lower B's to now like really high B's and A's. So it's been a significant difference, and that's because I think I just have more time to study. Sometimes when you're in clinic, if you've seen my previous videos, I would get home from clinic and I was just so exhausted, especially during certain rotations, like my surgery rotation, where I would go in at 6 a.m. on surgery days. Sometimes I didn't get out till 11 or 12 a.m., 11 p.m. or 12 a.m. So to do the next thing the next day, those days were definitely really exhausting, so I couldn't study. I would usually just study in between the days or during my downtime when I was in clinic or downtime in between surgeries. So having that extra time to study for those exams have really helped me out on my end of rotation exams. So I know most of you may be asking, well, how are you supposed to do well if you haven't been in clinic? And the interesting thing is that most of the exams are book-based. And usually in clinic, medicine is completely different what the book says and what you practice in clinic. For example, for those of you who are very familiar with heartburn or peptic ulcer disease or GERD, which is gastroesophageal reflux disease, so heartburn reflux disease, you read the book, you are taught to give as the first #1 treatment, it's going to be a histamine blockers, so it's ranitidine, cimetidine, etc. And second line is a proton pump inhibitor, so your PPIs, the ones that you see in the stores like omeprazole, you see the Nexium ones, etc. That's the second line. But if you're in clinic, that I've been in clinic, I don't think I've seen any provider give the first line, which is the histamine blockers or the H1 blockers. They usually go straight for the PPIs, which are your omeprazole, which are the ones that you see over the counter and you usually purchase. So that's an example, for example. And so that's why I don't think it's affected me in my EORs. But in regards to clinical experience, I do wish I had that clinical experience. And I do miss it a lot, guys, I'll be honest with you. I know when I was in clinical rotations, I always wanted to go home early because I wanted to study, or I always felt like I needed to study. And now I really regret that since I've been out of clinic. So we're supposed to go back, like I said, July 20th. I'm really excited. What do they do with our rotations so we can graduate? Well, they shortened them. Our rotations are going to be 2 weeks long. I've completed 5 rotations. There's 8 rotations that are required from my program for me to graduate, and are also required by the American Physician Assistant Board for a student to be required to graduate and to practice as a physician assistant. And I've only done 5, so I still need 3 more. So my program is going to do, in order so that they can graduate on time, is that they're going to cut down the rotations to 2 weeks each. So the 3 remaining rotations will be 2 weeks each. My remaining rotations are internal medicine, family medicine, and then my elective. So those rotations will be 2 weeks each. Now, if you've started applying to PA school, you know that most PA schools are very different. Some PA schools are about 2 years, so 24 months up to 36 months. My program is in between, so it's a 2 years and a half program. Basically, first year is didactic, second year is your clinical year. You complete those 8 rotations, and then you have a capstone. Basically, a capstone is usually from September till December when you graduate, and it is basically a clinical rotation during that entire time and whatever you want to pursue, go into. So, for example, for those of my classmates that want to go into family medicine or pediatrics, and they'll do that entire capstone rotation in that one specialty. And so as for myself, I will be making another video announcing for you guys where I will be doing my capstone. So that will hopefully enable me to get a lot more clinical experience for that capstone. But yes, another thing that I did is that during that time, honestly guys, I was at home, I was getting really bored. I was studying all the time, but I was really missing that clinical experience. If you've seen my psychiatric rotation recap video, one of the doctors, or the doctor, my preceptor that I rotated with, he really liked me, and so he offered me a job when I graduated to work with him in psychiatry. But psychiatry doesn't really interest me. I'm more of like a hands-on person. I like to suture, I like to do stuff with my hands, and so I didn't like it. It's not something that I would pursue. I did tell him I was consider the position once I graduated. Very nice. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is that in May he contacted me and he told me if I was looking for a job. He had heard that most of the students were out of clinical rotations and he was needing someone to be his scribe. So he offered me the job. I definitely said yes because I felt like I wanted that clinical experience and I needed that experience, and I definitely did get that clinical experience during my psychiatry rotation since he saw so many patients every day. And I decided to take it, and so I worked with him for about a month. During that time, we did a lot of telemedicine, of course, because we weren't seeing any patients because of the coronavirus. So I was really exposed to the telemedicine part of medicine, which is something they really don't teach you in PA school, and it's something new. And especially now during the COVID-19 era, a lot of doctors are now doing telemedicine. So it was really fun to do that. I did telemedicine. I also did clinical. I saw patients through the phone. So I would talk to patients over the phone and see what they were complaining for, etc. So it was definitely a great experience. I was with him for a month, and then of course I ended up telling him I wouldn't be able to come back because my program was telling us that we might go back to rotations in June. So I just wanted to make sure that I had enough time to make sure that I moved back, since that rotation was in El Paso and the next rotations were going to be in McAllen or Edinburgh. And for those of you that are from Texas, you do know that El Paso is literally like on one tip of Texas, and then you have McAllen and Edinburgh and the Valley, which is literally on the other tip. So it's about a 12-hour drive in between that. And the reason why I was in El Paso is because my husband lives there, and I decided to drive up there and stay with him the entire time that I was out of clinical rotation. So it ended up working out, and I was able to work with the doctor. I did a lot of telemedicine. I scribed for him. I got really familiar with the medication doses since it's something that he would prescribe very often. And it was really sad to see how much coronavirus has affected a lot of people in regards to their anxiety, in regards to their depression. So we did have a lot of patients that we saw. We actually saw a lot of patients every day. So it was really interesting to see how, and sad also to see how coronavirus has affected everyone and is affecting everyone, especially individuals who just are those people that like to be outside, and now they're confined to staying at home. And so that's really affected them also. And so yeah, it was a really good experience. Now I'm currently in the Valley. If you notice, the background's different. I feel like I've moved so many times since I started PA school. I'm either in El Paso, San Antonio, in the Valley. I'm all over the place. So I ended up moving out. I lived with family members, and one of the individuals I lived with is an elderly person. So I did end up moving out, and I'm currently in an Airbnb right now. I'm going to rent this place hopefully for the remainder of my rotations here in the Valley, and then I'm going to go back to San Antonio since that's where my capstone is right now. And the reason why I did that is just because I didn't want to expose my family member to COVID-19, being that she is elderly and being in clinical rotations. I know I'm going to be seeing a lot of that, and especially for those of you who have not kept up with the news, coronavirus is really bad here in the Valley. Most of our hospitals are at capacity, or if not past capacity, and so a lot of people are scared here in the Valley. So that's why I decided to move out, just to take precautions. But yes, that's my COVID-19 update for those of you who are wondering about PA school, etc. I am currently out of clinical rotations and just at home. I'm actually studying. I'm currently in my elective rotation right now, so I really don't have any EORs. I just have quizzes and homework, but I've still been reading daily. I'm trying to keep up with my schoolwork, trying to keep up with studying for the PANCE, and also my capstone rotation is going to be something that's very intense, so I want to make sure that I'm very, very prepared for that, so I've been reading books for that also. Alright guys, I hope you guys liked this video. If you guys have any comments or questions, make sure you comment below or send me an email or Instagram message and I will respond to you guys as soon as I can. Alright guys, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.